Hey everybody, this is Tracy here for another edition of A View from Tracy's Point, and we are here to recap the Queen Court's Docket 2020517. And on this episode, it was a highly anticipated episode because they were supposed to interview the comedian Monique about, her situation with Netflix and the whole call for a boycott. And so, people had to set their alarm clocks so that we could be there when the show came on. And ooh, it didn't go too well, guys. And I think I want to title this video, it's not even a recap, we're just going to talk about it, but I want to title this Adjust Your Crown When Things Fall Apart. Because, things happen that are totally out of our control. And one thing that I'll get into what happened on the show and actually show some video from what took place. But a lot of people are really, really angry with Kaya because Kaya did end up walking out and saying that she wasn't going to do it, that, her energy was bad. She didn't feel good about the whole situation and what's going on. And my thoughts on that is it's sort of like a no-win situation for Kaya because people are angry that she walked out, and then if she had stayed and then her body language and her attitude or whatever, was down, because sometimes when you're going through some stuff, even when you're trying to fake it, it still comes through and people can see, what your true emotions are. So they would have been complaining, saying, Kaya got a negative attitude, she ruined the show, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, the show didn't work out, so it doesn't matter whether Kaya stayed or left because it's still, they had so many technical difficulties that they couldn't do the show anyway. So just to give you guys a little idea of what happened, and I'm actually going to take it all the way back to the start of the year, because if you've been watching them for a while, you know that Kaya and T.S. Madison, they used to sit in the living room or the dining room of the house, and they were just like sitting there drinking wine, drinking whatever that is that Madison be fixing in that glass that looked like it's 3 parts alcohol and 1 part soda. But anyway, it was just a cozy feeling that, they were sitting there and you felt like you were sitting in the living room with them, and they're talking about, doing the little gags and stuff like that on the celebrity roast that they do. But after the whole incident with Candy and, the escape tour, they came back the beginning of the year and they had moved down to the basement. And you can go, I actually have a video about it, how it just didn't feel right. The viewers didn't like the setup. But Madison was, like, everything has to change. We're growing in what we're doing, and we're going to get it right. And I actually did a recap about that, and I'll put the link below. So it just seems like ever since then, it just hasn't been the same. Kaya hasn't been the same. And I don't know, because I actually didn't recap the last 2 weeks because I just wasn't feeling it. I watch and tune in, but it just hasn't been the same energy as it was last year. And I was wondering, like, is Kaya not feeling it because of people constantly, saying that Kaya was bringing T.S. Madison down, Maddie needs to drop Kaya. Kaya is ruining her reputation. And even though on the outside and on her social media, Maddie was saying that, she loves Kaya, Kaya's her friend, Kaya doesn't need to change, you couldn't help but wonder if perhaps behind the scenes, it was getting to Madison, and maybe Madison was talking to Kaya and telling Kaya, you know, you need to tone it down. You know, don't be so hard on the celebrities. Don't go all in, because there was definitely a change after the first of the year, and Kaya just has not been as engaged. Now, one of the complaints that the people had about the new setup was the fact that they had created this banner, this Queen's Court banner, and you guys know what a mirror image is, and that's where your words look like they're backwards. So what they did was they flipped the camera. You know, you can do it like I record with my Android smartphone, and if I flip the video, it'll rotate, and then you can see the words correctly if I had words behind me. But in their case, it's more than one person on the set, so it actually flipped them as well. And so people were used to Kaya being on one side and Madison being on the other side. So that was another thing that people were arguing about. And so I don't know what the chemistry, there's definitely something off with the chemistry, but I thought they had a wonderful formula. You know, we're moving to this online content, and I think that, you know, you don't really have anyone to answer to when you're doing the online content. And if you want to have sponsors, then get sponsors. You know, it's not like on television where you got to appease to the sponsor. In their case, they can just find sponsors that like their ratchetness and don't care about their ratchetness. You know, it's not like they're running banner ads and doing click, you know, pay per click and that type of thing. They were actually getting their sponsors and then presenting the information, you know, like holding it up and displaying it, you know, like on The Price is Right, how they come out there and display the gifts that you could win, the prizes you could win. So I don't know, another YouTuber, oh my God, what's her name? I forgot to write her name down, but she pointed out the fact that she feels that maybe T.S. Madison wants to get on TV, but Kaya is content with the online content. And I mean, honestly speaking, I don't really know about the TV aspect of it because of what they do. And then it would just be so many parameters set around them about what they can say, because if you're on a network and you're getting ready to roast somebody that's on that network, that's going to cause an issue, and they're going to tell you, oh, these people are off limit. Then you put a network in a position where they might get sued by a celebrity if the celebrity gets roasted. So I think that what they have is good, and I don't want to be the person that says stunt your growth and don't think bigger. I just think that they got to be bigger on the platform that they've created for themselves. And Maddie did a video, and I'm going to post that after I make this statement, and then we'll come back and talk about it. But she made a video on Tuesday morning where she was down in the basement in their, you know, makeshift studio, and she was showing all the equipment that they had bought to do the show, and was saying how, you know, they're going to be all right. You know, it was just a glitch. It was technical difficulty. She spent like $2,000-$3,000 on this equipment. But you guys go ahead and watch that video.
Child, I know I'm looking like last night, honey. Bitch, but I'm finna pull it together. I'm finna watch this good puss. But let me break something down for y'all real quick. Is this thing on? First of all, let me let y'all know something, bitch. The Queen's Court has a full production in this motherfucker. Full production. A dedicated internet for the Queen's Court, bitch. I took care of all that yesterday. So when I told you we had technical difficulties, bitch, it was because a new program that I bought yesterday to make sure that we were able to do the shit. But this is the set. Bitch, this is the set, bitch. We don't need no crowdfunding, bitch. We got all the shit in this motherfucker. We don't need no crowdfunding, bitch. This is how I go. Monitors, cameras, lights, all of the things. It was just a mishap last night, bitch. See y'all hoes Monday, okay? The Queen's Court, bitch. Yes.
So what I want to say about that video is that you could have all the equipment in the world, but if you don't know how to use that equipment, it means nothing that you have bought all this equipment. And I mean, I know people Like, I ain't got no great production going on here. I just got 2 lights, a chair, and my phone on a tripod. But I know people, and I know everybody hates Tommy Sotomayor, but he's an example of somebody who has a YouTube channel, and it is, you know, he's built this studio in his home. I think he has multiple studios in his home, and it looks so professional. Like, his production, especially now, like in the past few weeks, he's changed it where he has like a news desk. He, you know, wears a shirt and tie now, and he can go up against some of the news networks that we see on television. He has guests on his show, he can integrate them in. I think they're using like Google Hangout, I think it's called, where you can bring in other people who you're interviewing. And so one of the problems that they had on Monday night was that they were trying to interview Monique, and Monique was on Periscope, so they have brought her Periscope up on the computer, and then they got to turn the computer around. And I was thinking, when she said that they had spent like $2,000-$3,000 on all this equipment, but you were using a laptop to show Monique. And if you guys know anything about Periscope, if you're holding your phone up right, you get this narrow view. You can't stretch it out. So basically, she had her mic computer, you know, which is big as I don't know what. And then you had this little sliver of video, which was Monique airing. And then Monique was sitting, because I had Monique on my Periscope, because I follow her on Periscope. And so she was cut all off to the neck, and it just looked so unprofessional. And so then Maddie took the laptop and stacked up a bunch of books to put the laptop on to, you know, to get it up high enough so we could see it on the screen. And then the laptop ended up falling off, and it was just crazy. And I'm thinking, you spent all that money, but you couldn't buy a stand for the laptop. You couldn't, and I think Google Hangout, I'm sorry, is free. And I just think that you have all those colleges in Atlanta, that there has to be one of those schools that has a production program in it. Because I know here with our the church I used to work at, you know, our media person, he was looking for help, and he ended up getting a grant from the University of South Florida, St. Pete, to teach like a studio production course. And you go to all these churches that's got these production teams, like slip somebody who has the experience, who's aspiring to be into, you know, television production, and get them to come over there, help you set out, show you how to use this equipment. Because I'm telling you, I have like the full Adobe suite with Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Premiere. I have a gigantic green screen. I have all that equipment. I have a professional camera, everything. But let me tell you something. I bought that stuff for a class I was taking, and after that class was over with, I packed that stuff away and didn't use it again. So it does me no good to have all that equipment if I'm not going to take the time to learn how to use it. And I think I put in one of my other videos about how I have, how long it takes me to upload my videos, because I use Windows Movie Maker, which is a kind of outdated program, but it's a program that I'm comfortable with. But I have Premiere, and a couple of times that I used Premiere in my class that I was taking, it was just so cumbersome, and I just didn't have the time. And the older I get, the more impatient I am when it comes to learning new things. So having the tools means nothing if you're not going to learn how to work the tools. So Tommy Sotomayor is a good example of somebody who's operating out of his home, but he's putting on a professional production. And then Monday night, before I watched the Queen's Court, I follow this group on Facebook called Beautiful Brown Girls, and they actually have a brunch club that I used to be a member of. And they did a Facebook Live, and it was 3 people on the Facebook Live. They were all in different locations. And once again, I think it may have been the Google Hangout or some similar product, where they were actually able to bring all 3 of the people onto the Facebook Live together from their different locations. And they even had this feature I hadn't seen before, where they could drag, like when people were making comments, when they saw a comment that they liked or a comment that was going to guide the conversation, they was able to drag that comment up on the screen to let the viewers know, those of us that were watching, that, hey, this is a, you know, a good comment. Let's talk about this for a second. And so I just think that there's a lot more that the Queen's Court could be doing to put on a more professional show without all the glitches. And because I mean, when they actually did try to do it twice. So when they came on the first time, Kaya was there. They had their drinks, but the lighting was horrible. Like, they were looking like, one point they were looking green, the other point they were looking gray, like they had been embalmed or something. And then they got the color right, but then the sound wasn't right. And then that's when Kaya got up and walked away. And I guess she had went around to try and straighten out the lighting and help whoever is in the background helping them. And couldn't get it right. And so at that point, they was like, you know, the people in the comments were saying, you know what, why don't y'all take the show down, get it together, and then come back, because this isn't a good look right now. You know, what we're seeing right now isn't a good look. So they took the show down, and then they came back. Now, in between them taking their show down and them coming back, like I said, Monique was on Periscope, and I follow Monique. So I got this alert that Monique's World was on, Mo's World, I think it's called, was on Periscope. So I done got my phone out and opened up her. And so I was like, well, how's she doing a Periscope if she's supposed to be on the Queen's Court? Well, she was getting ready to go on the Queen's Court. But now this is how shady Monique is. Y'all can say what y'all want to. I know people were saying Monique was on her Periscope. She had every right to keep recording. But I think that out of respect and out of professionalism, Monique should have either said to them, hey, you're coming across on my Periscope. Do you want to shut your thing down? Or she should have shut her Periscope down and then came back up live again if she wanted to keep talking. But basically what happened was Monique was sitting there, and people were saying that they think Sydney was in the room, but I don't recall seeing Sydney in the room at the point that I logged on. But she was there with someone named Dawn, and you know how she always calling people her sister, so I don't know if it's a blood sister or just a friend of hers. But she was there with her, and they were sitting on the sofa, looked like they were in a hotel room, and they were talking. And so you can hear the first video, the audio from the first video from the Queen's Court, and you can hear them talking and going back and forth about what's happening. And basically there was a back and forth between Kaya and Maddie, where Kaya was saying, let's not do this, let's cancel this, reschedule it for another time. But Madison was saying, no, we got Monique, you know, we want to do this, we asked her to be on the show must go on. And so they get to going back and forth, and Monique sitting there, you know, smiling and carrying on, trying to act like, you know, this is all good in the neighborhood. And, oh, babies, don't be acting like that. Kaya, let me talk to you. Can you put Kaya on the camera so I can talk to her? Kaya, come on, let's have a one-on-one, sweetheart. Let me talk to you. You know, just kind of like, when you know somebody's upset and agitated, like, why you just gonna keep digging and digging? Kaya don't even like you, Monique. She don't want to talk to you. She's upset. They're frustrated that the show is not going on. So basically, Monique was kind of like instigating, trying to keep them going and going back and forth.
Kaya!
I'm getting out of here.
But she got her queen rap on.
I'm going to my own room.
She's mad, Monique, because we supposed to, the show is carrying tonight. It's just totally carrying on tonight.
They said you washed up. She did right before I came up here.
I sure did. And I washed up I took me a nice shower this morning. And when I got, this morning, I took me a scrub.
Oh my goodness, that scrub was so good.
Well, what are we going to do about these people, kids?
Y'all don't forget, this weekend we're in San Jose at the Improv. 2 shows Friday, 2 shows Saturday. And also, if y'all want to get it straight from me and my husband, go to our podcast, Monique and Sydney's Open Relationship. Go to radio.com, baby, and click on whatever show you want to hear. Baby, I've responded to Gary Owens.
No, that.
Did you see him talking about you, Monique?
Girl, I did, Miss Madison. I saw my brother.
Kaya, let's just knock it out.
We get ready to do it.
She want to do the thing. She want to do it, Kaya.
Madison. Miss Madison.
All this stuff that went over here. Kaya, please, let's do the show.
Miss Madison.
Yes, my baby.
Could you please ask Kaya to come sit down in front of this camera so she and I can have a conversation? Because Miss Kaya, I'm doing this because I saw that little response you gave to me a while back, and I so appreciated it when you said, you know what, Monique, I know just what you're going through, and I understand
See, the
that.
lady said you she love you for standing up with her, even saying that. Kaya, please.
Miss Madison?
Please, Kaya.
Baby, we're not going to do that. Kaya, I've been on set for 10 hours today, baby. If you want to pass, I totally understand it, sister, but we can't do this.
Can we do you have time for, our shows is on Monday. And Kaya, please, come on, let's just knock it out the way. Please, sister.
Kaya, why are you carrying on?
She said that the production went.
I know. We don't have to do it, but can she just come sit down where you are so I can see her?
You want to talk with her?
I do. She don't have to do it.
She want to do it, but we didn't start on time. The production was messed up. All this stuff. We didn't. It
Just
just
come and
the
say hi.
energy just went off. Kaya, please. Do you know for 2 or 3 days, you saying your energy off? Hold on, Monique. Let me say. For 2 or 3 days, I've been trying to. I don't want to cry, but I've been feeling so by myself for these days, trying to make this thing go right. Y'all left yesterday, y'all went and did y'all thing. I've been trying to get lights perfect, this stuff perfect, this stuff right.
Just come
But
and say hi.
but it's not my fault, sister. None of this stuff my fault. They came at 1, stuff got messed up, they went to go get another computer. Oh, it's not my fault. I just want
Hey, Ira, we're on with the Queen's Court.
And we just do the Monique.
Baby, they say, what the hell? Baby, Kaya is our sister that co-hosts the Queen's Court with our sister Madison.
That's it.
Oh, Madison. Oh, baby.
Hi, Kaya.
Hey, Kaya.
She mad.
That's all right, baby. Put the camera in her face.
I'm not feeling it.
Okay.
I know, baby,
Trying
but
to do business. This shit is fucked up.
I agree, baby. But me and you gonna speak, because me and you don't have no issue with each other. We gonna speak like two sisters.
We ain't got to speak while we taping. The shit is fucked up. But it's not taping us. It don't matter. Shit is fucked up. Can we do it? Can we do it Monday?
Baby, unfortunately, I can't, because I was...
Interview her. You got the questions you want to ask her? Interview.
Kaya, but hold up, sister. Hold up a second, baby. You got one sister here just wanting to say hey to another sister.
She just want to speak.
Even if it don't go good, if it don't go
She mad
right.
at me. She mad at me. Everybody in here mad at me.
Oh,
I'm trying to make
Madison.
the show perfect.
Madison.
All this stuff I put in, and everybody is mad with me. For days I've been trying to get this stuff right. I done spent my $2,000.
Baby, we also on Periscope right now because they waiting to watch it too.
I know that, man. That's all I want to do. All I want to do is do the stuff right. That's all
That's all, baby. That's all she want to do.
just like me, you talked on the phone. You understood. You understood where I'm coming from with that stuff. Yes, I'm a trick. I have to do this stuff on my own. I'm not trying to make my sister feel no kind of way. I just want to do the show. I want to do the thing. Stuff like this happen. It's my fault for trying to make it perfect when it was already right.
You know what, Madison? Sometimes, baby, it's just technical shit that goes wrong that we have no control over. This is not heavy, my sisters. Like, this ain't heavy, y'all. This ain't, because we're not going to go to bed with heavy hearts and we mad because you might not wake the fuck up tomorrow morning.
Right. And I think sometimes and I explained this when my daughter, the video I did about my daughter getting married and how the caterer, his day started off bad, and because he couldn't, adjust himself and get over what happened at the start of the day, the day just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And so behind the scene, like a lot of our guests didn't know what was going on, but behind the scene, he was being a real asshole. And so that's basically how I look at the whole Kaya situation. Like, you done had a bad week. You done had a bad day. Madison then showed up with all this equipment. You not feeling it because y'all not trained to use the equipment. And then you go on live and the lighting is off. The people are coming at you in the comments. So Kaya's like, let's just stop. We're not ready for this. And so I think that if she couldn't adjust herself, couldn't get her crown back on right, she shouldn't have come back on to try and continue with the show because her energy wasn't there, her attitude wasn't there. And I think maybe if they had just taken it down and had a conversation, like a serious conversation where Monique wasn't airing it on Periscope, where Maddie wasn't flustered and wanted to go on and feel like she had some obligation to Monique because Monique agreed to be on the show. Because if Monique agreed to be there on Monday night, they could have did a special edition on Tuesday or Wednesday or another day during the week, and Monique would have been, if she was sincere, would have been just as open to coming back on another day. So in that aspect, I don't blame Kaya. With Madison, I understand, you know, when you, because I used to be a person that perfection, you know, it's got to be right, it's got to be right. I don't want to put it out, I don't want to do it until it's right. And so I know how that is, but I had to learn that you can be a perfectionist, but if you're going to look bad, you know, in front of people, then you got to stand back. And part of being a perfectionist is that you don't want to look bad in front of people. So Madison, I think that she needs to do some self-evaluation and get out of her own way and just realize that, you know, it's going to come in time, that it doesn't happen overnight. Success doesn't happen overnight. And you just got too big of a stage, too big of an audience, you know, to be airing live and stuff just falling over, audio not working, you know, just so many technical difficulties. And the great part about live streaming, being on Facebook Live and these online platforms is you can stop. You can say, hey, we're having a problem. We'll be back in an hour, or we're going to reschedule this for another day, and then come back when you're ready. Whereas when you're recording for a TV show, like Wendy Williams passed out on her TV show because she's on television and the show must go on. And so she had to endure that. But with you guys, you don't have to endure that because your audience is a different audience. You are not obligated to, you know, sponsors who created commercials, and those commercials have to run at a certain time during the show. In your case, you have the product right there. You have the dialogue, that you are the commercial is basically what I'm saying. So I just think that just so much was going on that didn't have to be, but at the end of the day, there's another day. And I don't think that this is the end of the Queen's Court. I love what they're doing. I just think that they got to step back. They got to refocus. They got to reconnect with each other and make sure that they're both in it for the same reason, that they're on the same playing field with each other, on the same page as far as where they're trying to take this. And then Madison, like the other YouTuber said, if her goals are to make it to television with this show, but Kaya's goal is to stay online, then that energy is going to hinder the further progress on the show. So they need to just step back, have a conversation with each other, and just see where they are. And then there was a couple other things. There was a comment where somebody said something to Kaya, and I'm going to post it. Now, Kaya, you can't be doing that, okay? You got to put up the united front. You just say, you know what, things weren't going right. We just need to regroup. But don't feed into that social media stuff, because that's what people want you to do. And then the other thing was Funky Deneva. I was watching his review of what took place. And, you know, he was trying to be all dignified and professional about the whole thing. But Funky Deneva, you know, you was happy that they had that issue because they had talked about him and the fact that he was fired off of, allegedly fired off of that horrible, horrible, horrible Sister Circle show that comes on TV One. And they were saying that he had been evicted, allegedly evicted from his apartment. And so he, you know, he made some good points on his show. But Funky, we saw that you were gloating behind the scene as much as you was trying to suppress what you were feeling. But he did make some good points. And you guys, if you haven't checked out his video, check it out. Because he's basically talking and giving advice from somebody who has had the opportunity to work with network television, and just behind the scenes, and how basically how Monique is ruining her relationship with all these people in the industry, that by Kaya coming so hard, it's going to be hard for them in the industry. But that goes back to what the goals are. Because if the goal is to just stay online, then yeah, you can come as hard as you want to and talk about people. But if the goal is to eventually make it to television, they're going to have to change the whole concept. And I think in changing the concept, they're going to lose Kaya, which is the main draw to the show. Like, everybody loves Madison, thinks she's sweet and, you know, and everything. But really, we come for Kaya. We come for Kaya and the nonsense, the no holds bar. I'm going to say it like I mean it. And then the expressions that Madison is making, and, you know, like, Kaya, don't do that. Kaya, don't say that. That's the chemistry of the show. And I think to try and silence Kaya or to tell Kaya to bring it down, I think it's going to ruin the formula that they have going. You know, so just basically hang in there, reassess, regroup. Make sure you guys are on the same page. We love you regardless. I know from my perspective, there's no hate. I want to see you succeed. I want to see everybody succeed. And that's it for me, guys. If you watched the Queen's Court, if you saw what happened, leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. Should Monique have ended her Periscope, or was it okay for her to continue going and expose this conversation that they were having? And I know that Monique mentioned that they were on, you know, that she was on Periscope. But do you guys think that Kaya and Madison, in the heat of the moment and everything that was going on, do you think it's cemented in their head that their conversation behind the scenes and after they had took their show down, was it registering in their brains that Monique was still rolling her Periscope and that they could be heard through the Periscope that Monique was doing? Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. Rate the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And until the next time, I shall talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.